Sports on Tap is brought to you by the Joe Wright Group with Dobie Real Estate, Jason Stiltner at Flagstar Bank, Baldman Entertainment, Land & Sea Motorsports.
Buckle the fuck up.
Time to play the game.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Time to play the game.
You can't let that shit happen.
You play to win the game.
If we take a fucking tight end, I quit.
Cannot win with him. Can't do it. I want winners.
Time to play the game.
And welcome to this week's edition of Sports on Tap Game Day. Sorry about the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but we are rolling now and ready to get into games. Sitting in with me today, as was last week, is Frank Dragata and Dan Yagnam.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on, boys?
Whole lot of nothing. How about you?
Yeah, just
Same shit, different day.
Same shit, different day. Stressed the fuck out right now, but
we can tell.
I'm ready to get into the show.
We can tell. It'll be all right.
We got it roll.
Yeah, we'll make it through. Don't worry.
Yeah. So anytime we have technical difficulties at the beginning of a show, or with the beginning of trying to get into the show, it just throws me completely off.
Well, and it's, we're still a small town operation here, so Joe kind of runs this thing himself for the most part.
I don't think anybody's going to be too rough on you, Joe.
Yeah,
Well,
so when it's not working, it really just falls on Joe's shoulders to fix it.
it's I'm rough on myself. Let's put it that way. I guess that's what we could say. So, yeah. Anyway, so I think we're going to get into the games now, and let's get into the first game here. I have to pull something up real quick. The first one I think we're going to touch on is Cleveland-Chicago. Dan, if you want to touch on that one a little bit before I get something pulled up here. I don't know if you have anything for Cleveland-Chicago set and ready to go. But betting-wise, what do you got for that, bud?
Yeah, the Cleveland-Chicago game looks like it's sitting at around 7.5 point favorite for Cleveland. They are home today. You got Nagy still saying that Dalton's the starter if he is healthy. I don't really know what the hell this guy is thinking. It's obviously Fields' team now. He is going to run with the ball a lot today. If you're looking for a first TD prop, he's plus 2,000, I think, on MGM. I can see that being a good long shot there. I do think this line's pretty accurate. However, you do have that variable of you have a rookie QB. You don't really have any tape on him, especially the mobile variety. I do think he does hold on to the ball a little bit too long. That's the main difference that I think Dalton would release a little bit faster. Cleveland D, I think we all thought was pretty good going into this year. They haven't really showed it so far, but with Fields coming in and maybe holding on to that ball too long, I think they have a good chance to eat today. I'm not going to bet it personally. Like I said, I think the line's pretty much spot on.
Gotcha. So now that I have this pulled up, I will tell you, it's a dead nuts even 50-50 on the line. It's minus 7.5, and it is literally dead nuts even at 50-50. The over-under is 44.5. It's slightly swayed towards the under, and 84% of the money is on Cleveland money line. I think that's a smart bet. You're not going to win anything for it, but so now we make our way over to fantasy, and Frank, I'm gonna throw it over to you for a second if you have anything fantasy-wise on this, and I'll be able to get my notes together here and be able to give you something in a second.
So fantasy-wise in this game, I'm questioning OBJ coming back. It's not a situation of can he play. We obviously know he can. It's a situation of that team got exceptionally better last year when he got injured. So does he come in? Does he fit back in? Does Baker try to force the ball to him again? What exactly is going to go on? What's going to happen with Landry not there? Because I believe Landry is hurt this week.
He is, yeah. He's out for a little while.
He's out for a little while?
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
So when, your check down option, your sure thing is gone, you've got to find a new one. And OBJ is not exactly a safety valve. So I'm kind of wondering how things are going to go there. If you're in a QB tandem, I would stay away from Baker this week for no other reason than I'm not sure who he's throwing to. But that's my own personal opinion. I've gone on record as saying that I'm not the biggest Baker fan.
You did say pre-show that he did have that efficiency going on.
Yeah, he's I believe he's 40 for 49 on the season, just over 500 yards, I believe it said.
Yeah, I believe his completion percentage is actually the highest in the league right now.
Yeah, by a long shot.
And his QBR is up there as well. He hasn't been flashy this year.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't put up gaudy numbers, but he's been accurate, and he's basically doing what they want him to do, and that's control the ball. Make sure you don't turn the ball over, except for at the end of the game against KC there, which he got tackled and was trying to force something and was actually trying to throw it out of bounds, but got tackled from behind. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. He's not going to put up any gaudy fantasy numbers for you in any game, honestly. The guys I like in this game, honestly, this is a game I'm going to kind of stay away from on all sides because there's a lot of question marks in this game. Fields is one you might want to play in DFS. And even in a 2-quarterback league, I kind of stay away from week 1. I don't really know what you're going to get out of him. Like Dan said, he holds the ball a little bit too long at times. He'll take some sacks, and he's a rookie. It's going to be his first action, so. DFS, he's kind of a unique play because I don't think a lot of people will put him in there, and you can actually spend up on a lot of other positions if you throw him in there. On the other side of the ball, I think the only Odell is another daily guy. Like if you want to roll him out there in daily as a crapshoot, as like a low cost, shoot for the fences type of pick and spend up on other spots, that's kind of a smart play. Other than that, I'd stay away from him. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Those are my 2 main plays in this game.
Yeah, you got to let those two eat.
Every week
yeah,
with those guys.
and David Montgomery on the other side of the ball. Basically, the running backs in this game is who I'd rely on fantasy.
Agreed.
And there's really not much more I can say on that one, so I think we're going to move on to the next matchup. It's going to be the Cardinals visiting the Jags. And let's see, the spread in this game is 7.5. Or Arizona's obviously given up the 7.5. 92% of the money is on Arizona giving up that 7.5. Over/under's 51.5. And 60% of the money is on the over, and 98% of the money is on Arizona money line, which does not surprise anybody. Dan, what do you got for us, bud?
That all makes sense. I mean, you've seen Jacksonville through 2 weeks; they look like dog shit.
We're looking at what could be our first 0-17 team.
It honestly could be. They are that bad. Now, the fact that you talked about the money line, the money side of things, Joe, that's something that I always like to get into on the betting aspect of things. The fact that the line is still sitting here at 7.5, and you know that everybody and their mother is pounding Arizona, that does scare me a little bit. I don't really trust Cliff Kingsbury very much. I think this Arizona team is one that's probably going to be playing up and down to their competition most weeks. You saw that last week with Minnesota. I think they got lucky to even come away with a win there. I think that should have been Minnesota's W. I think with the public action, I would have expected this to start floating up, maybe not 10, but at least getting into the 8s and 9s, and it hasn't moved at all.
I'm with you there. I haven't seen this line move at all, and I agree. It's a little strange.
It just feels a little trappy to me. Mm-hmm. I'm probably actually going to tickle Jacksonville for a little bit.
I agree with you there, actually. I had thought about it myself because the fact that this line did not move is... If you look at a line, in my opinion, you're more of a betting expert than I am, but if I look at a line and it just looks strange to me, like it's not moving and it looks weird, I always play the opposite side of what looks like the sure bet. And you know what I mean? Like it's in this one, everyone thinks Arizona's the sure bet, but that line hasn't moved, and everybody's betting Arizona, and it hasn't moved, and it's strange. So to me, I would play the other side. I wouldn't necessarily bet my house on it,
right? But
I would play the other side a little bit because Vegas is kind of telling me that the Jags are going to stick in this game a little bit better than what people think.
I agree. I definitely agree with you there. When you get that kind of gut feeling like something's not right about this line,
play the opposite of the public.
Yep, and it's not a guaranteed slam dunk, but if you do it more often than not, I think you're going to come out ahead, and I think that's the case for today.
What was it like last week? Everybody wanted Cincinnati. The public wanted Cincinnati, right? Or the public was what was it in the Cincinnati game? The public was on one side of it, and you called it during the show, and you're like, I would go the other side of this one, and I forgot exactly which one it was, but
it was against the Bears, and everybody was riding high on Cincy after that win, and they actually kind of brought it closer at the end of the game, and Bears controlled that entire game. It kind of went exactly like I thought. I mean, you do have Urban Meyer, and this could very well be a freaking blowout still for Arizona.
I think that's what we're looking at, to be honest with you.
Right. So, I mean, this could be the case of getting too cute. Arizona's obviously the better team, and, we can get into the fantasy guys now.
All right. I just want to say a shout out to Steve Waddell from Bald Man Entertainment, one of our sponsors. He just gave us a shout out. He said, gentlemen, he always listens, very dedicated listener, and he's one of our sponsors. So thank you. We appreciate it. Love you, brother. We're going to dive into fantasy now. And what do you got on fantasy side of this one, Frank?
Arizona's defense. If you have them, play them. If they're available, go get them. It's Jacksonville guys. Yeah, it's Jacksonville guys. I'm high on Arizona's defense as it is this year. The way Jones has played has been, in my opinion, second to none so far.
He disappeared in game 2, though. Like, literally disappeared off the planet.
He
didn't have a tackle.
But it was more of a coverage issue. Like, when you go out and you have 5 sacks, you're getting double-teamed the whole next week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
And it kind of opens up the other side for things. And they've got him playing on the outside linebacker. Like, it's just going to open up more opportunities for your DNs. Your D tackles are going to get free. Like, having to double a person in that spot, it fucks up your whole game plan.
Sure. There's zero chance that Trevor Lawrence gets out of this game without
a
couple picks, probably.
I'm guessing 2 picks. I'm going to guess probably 3 sacks.
I think he'll get over 300 yards. I
do
think
too.
He'll see a lot of garbage time yards.
Yeah, I do too.
If you have to play him in fantasy, he's going to get you points. It's not going to be a great play.
It's not going to be pretty.
Right. But he's going to be somebody who's going to put points up for you because he's going to see a lot of garbage time throws.
Yeah.
That's all year. I mean, he's going to see garbage time all year. So if you have him in a 2-quarterback league, you can roll him out there and expect some points out of him because he's got garbage time all year long.
I mean, when it comes to Jacksonville's receivers, pick them. It's basically what Trevor Lawrence is doing at this point. There's nobody who's emerged as the number one. It's just kind of everybody there. Everybody's seeing a couple of touches, seeing a couple of targets, and that's the way that team's going to roll for this year.
I kind of disagree at one point there, though.
What's that?
For me, Marvin Jones has become one of his go-to guys.
He has.
I would throw Marvin Jones out there every fucking week.
He's getting the air yards too, which is something I always look for.
No, he does sprinkle the ball around. Don't get me wrong, but Marvin Jones has kind of emerged as his guy, and I would throw Jones out there every chance I got.
And he's still a viable deep threat.
Yeah, well, and he's captain touchdown too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was that way with the Lions.
Yep.
It's been his whole career.
Yeah, and he's kind of become that guy for Trevor Lawrence as well. He's more of the veteran. He's the guy that Trevor Lawrence is kind of relying on. So, other side of the ball, I think Kyler Murray's always a play. I think he could actually be fantasy MVP this year by the end of the season.
Yep.
And I'm not just basing it on the first 2 games. Dan, we had talked about this before the season even started.
QB1. He was QB1 until he got hurt last year. There was no reason to think that it was going to be any different this year, in my opinion.
No. And you're rolling out DeAndre Hopkins. You're rolling out. Honestly, Rondale Moore is one that I would look into this week because they are literally creating spots for him. They're creating plays for him. They're trying to get the ball in his hands.
If his snap count goes up a little bit more, I mean, the sky's the limit with this kid. It really is.
Yeah, it's if you've seen any of it, you've seen that they've literally tried every way they can to get the ball in his hands. They've created plays for him specifically.
Would you say that he's now the 2 over Kirk? I mean, was Kirk the 2?
I think on paper, I think AJ Green is still the 2.
Yeah, AJ's still your 2.
But I think in Kyler's mind, I think Rondale Moore is becoming the 2. I think when he's on the field, Kyler looks for him.
I think you're right.
And I think Cliff Kingsbury actually designs plays for him, and that's going to continue throughout the season. It's just going to he's going to get more chances every single week that goes on throughout the season. And he's dynamic enough; he'll do something with it. On the running back side of this, I think Chase Edmonds is your guy. James Conner's an afterthought. Chase Edmonds is a pretty good play today in my mind. He gets more of the passing yards out of that backfield, and he's looked pretty good in the beginning of the season here. Not great, but he's looked pretty good. So I'd be okay with playing him today as well. All right. So let's see. Next game we're going to go on to is the Chargers and the Chiefs. This game is Kansas City -7. It's in Kansas City. It's about dead even with money on the spread there. Over-under is 54.5, and 78% of the money's on the over, which is not a shock to me. I'm shocked it's not more.
Yeah.
And 92% of the money is on Kansas City money line. Dan, take it away, bud.
This is probably one I'm not going to be betting. I am looking forward to watching this game. I can't really cap Chiefs games. Last year, I didn't really bet them too much when they were covering. They haven't really covered a whole lot in their last 10 or so. It is a divisional matchup. Mahomes is 4-2 straight up against the Chargers in his career. I do just kind of think the points are probably the way to go if you do want to bet this game or take the over. Not a totals guy myself, but I don't see Kansas City blowing a lot of teams out this year. I think in that divisional matchup, I think 7's probably a good number. But this is probably one I'm just going to watch, enjoy the fantasy points. I expect a lot of scoring, especially after that slow output that you saw from Chargers against the Cowboys last week.
Yeah, and getting into that side of it, the fantasy side of it, I think this is a get-right game for Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
I think this is a game where you're going to see him actually put up the numbers he put up last year. And don't get me wrong, it might not always be pretty, but in fantasy, you don't care about pretty, you care about numbers. Production. Mm-hmm. So I'd play him today. I'd play Keenan Allen. I'd play Mike Williams. Austin Eckler's a go-to for me. He's been a go-to for me in my DFS this week. If I have him in my league, I'm trying him out there, obviously, and as well you should every week.
I think he had 9 receptions last week after that 0 week 1. So,
and that's going to continue.
Get 9 again?
The week 1 was the outlier. I think he's not necessarily always going to get 9 catches, but he's going to be up there in the 4 to 8 to 10 catch range.
That's why you drafted him. You weren't looking for that between the tackles with him. You wanted the receptions.
Yeah. And then Jared Cook's another one I'd try out there. He's slowly becoming one of those tight ends that if you drafted a tight end late and you missed out on some of the guys, you could pick up Jared Cook on the waiver wire if he's still out there, or you might have already done that. He's a guy that is going to get you some points out of the tight end spot if you waited on it and you're worried about your tight end spot. So I wouldn't mind trotting him out there this week as well. Frank, anything on that side of the ball for you?
Yeah, I mean, this matchup's fairly simple in my opinion. It's a situation of if you have any of these guys on Kansas City, you're playing them no matter what. They're locked into their spots. There's certain guys you just do not move, and that's your Mahomes, your Tyreek Hill, Edwards-Helaire at this point. He can be locked right into your...
Although Edwards is... CEH has looked really bad.
He has, but from everything I have read today, they expect to go to him early and often. So if that is going to be the case... It's going to be interesting to see what Kansas City ends up... I almost called them Minnesota for some reason. What Kansas City ends up doing with the ball. On the Chargers side, I don't know much about this team. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to defer to Joe on that one. He's already given you the rundown that he feels you should play everybody. I'm going to just mirror that because L.A. is just... Again, we talked about it in weeks past. They're not a sexy team.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a lot going on. This game's going to be a great one to watch.
They can be a sexy team, and that's what bothers me about it is they haven't looked like it in the first couple weeks, but they really can be if they actually get into a groove and actually start playing well.
I think if you drafted Mike Williams, I think you're really happy with what you're getting through.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, that's one of the steals of the draft in fantasy so far, I would say. And like you said, they have the potential to be a really sexy team with those pieces. You're just not really seeing it through 2 weeks so far.
And like I said, I think this is the get-right game for them. As far as offensively, as far as fantasy goes, I'm not sure. We're not talking real life here. We're talking fantasy football here. And we're talking this is going to be a get-right game for your Chargers and for Herbert, who you drafted high and expected a lot of things from, Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler as well. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Frankie touched on it. You play everybody.
Yeah. Kansas City, they've shown it for 3 years now.
You're not sitting them. You're playing them. And I would expect a good game from them as well. I mean, I think you kind of almost always do, but I'd say in this game, Chargers defense is nothing special. So I think you're going to have a good game from all those guys. And I think this might be a get-right game for CEH as well, because I think Andy Reid is one of those guys, when he gets criticized for leaving somebody out of the game plan, the next week he usually game plans for that player, and especially running backs. He does that. So I think he might game plan for CEH this week.
Well, in the question that I have with that, and it's more hypothetical because I don't expect for you or Dan to have an actual answer for me.
Well, you never know.
Right, and that's why I say it's planned to be hypothetical. If either one of you got anything, throw it out there. But with Andy Reid, I think he's smart enough to know that once your offensive line takes that step back, your running game's going to hurt. So I'm wondering if he's given it these couple of weeks after seeing what happened in the Super Bowl, watching that O-line just get manhandled that game.
Well, and they reworked the entire offensive line.
Yeah.
So it's all they're new.
Allowing everything to mesh together to
meshing.
see if they can get something rolling.
This is also a coach you got to realize you're expecting to see him at the end of the season in the Super Bowl or at least the conference finals, and he's not going to show you everything
Right.
This early in the season.
Yeah.
There's no reason to. It's a long season. I'm sure most people do this, but just a little, fantasy tidbit. Obviously, if you're deciding between guys, look at the Vegas totals. This is the second highest total on the board.
Yeah.
So you're going to want a lot of exposure to this game.
Yeah. That's another really good one, Dan. Is take a look at what Vegas expects the over/under to be, and then take a look at what the spread is, and you can kind of figure out what they expect out of the team that you're looking at. And use that as your common denominator. Use that to figure out what guy you want to start as opposed to what guy you might end up sitting.
There's a reason everything's as nice as it is in Vegas, and we are where we are.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's see. Next game is
love Vegas.
I do too. Next game is not a sexy matchup, as Frank would say. It is Washington, and we're going to continue that all year. Washington at Buffalo. Let's see. The spread on this game is -7 for Buffalo, and you're looking at the money. 58% of the money is on Buffalo for that -7. So it's pretty even, more even than I would expect. The over/under is 45.5, and 67% of the money is on the over. 82% of the money is on Buffalo money line. Dan, what do you got for us here?
I think non-sexy. I think you guys nailed it. This is a very unappealing game. I do like a lot of dogs this week. This might be one of the favorites that I think can cover pretty easily. That being said, I'm not super impressed with Buffalo through 2 weeks. They do kind of need a statement win, but I don't think this Washington team would be a statement win by any means. I do think Heineken is probably no worse than Fitz at this point. However, I don't think Washington is probably as good as we thought coming into this. Like you said, the money's pretty even. Could also see this being one of those Buffalo get-right spots where they could potentially be blowing him out by half. Josh Allen, I'm still kind of shaky on him so far this year. I was loving everything I saw last year, but I don't want to say he's taken a step back yet.
But it looks like it.
It kind of does. Right. It kind of does.
2 years
right
ago,
now.
Josh Allen. Right now,
that's kind of what I'm seeing so far. So I'm not really crazy about it. 7's a big number. They have an electric home crowd. They do have a great roster. Should be able to cover the points. I don't expect to see this one on Red Zone a whole lot, except for just seeing the touchdown highlights. That's my opinion.
No, I tend to agree with you there. Frank, anything you got before I jump into anything I have here?
To be honest, and I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but I'm not even going to waste my fucking time on this game.
That's good because honestly,
pretty much there.
No, you're right because I don't have a lot to say. I have just a very little bit.
You're kind of stuck. Like I have Josh Allen in one league, and I hate that I have to start him.
I know,
but you're kind of obligated.
I have him in a 2-quarterback league, and I drafted him to play him every week, and I'm trotting him out there. But my other guy is Hurts, thank the Lord, who I think we'll get to that game later. He's gonna have a good game. If you have McLaurin, you're trotting him out there. I wouldn't expect much from him today. I wouldn't expect a lot from Heineken. I know his name is Heineke. I don't fucking care. I'm calling him Heineken.
No, it's Heineken.
It's Heineken.
It's Heineken.
So he had a great game last week.
By the way, real quick on that,
yeah,
Heineken totally missed the boat on that one.
I know.
Bud Light literally swooped right in and snatched him up.
Uh-huh.
It's like
it
was right fucking there
in front of your face.
It was in your lap.
Can lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink.
Right? People were even telling you to the public did your job on that one, Heineken.
He had a great game last week. 336 yards, pair of touchdowns.
Absolutely.
But please do not expect that this week. It's a very tough matchup against the tough Bills defense at home in Buffalo.
Yeah, I
Antonio
wish we could
Gibson,
play the Giants every week.
Right? Well, Antonio Gibson is another one. You drafted him high, but I wouldn't expect much from him this week, and you haven't got much from him yet. So you're kind of looking at 3 weeks without a lot. I think J.D. McKissick kind of continues his production. He's going to get catches out of the backfield. I think that continues in this game because they're going to be probably playing from behind. They're going to be playing a lot of pass plays.
He's always in the 2-minute drill, end of the game.
Yep. On the other side of the ball, I think you have to play your guys. You have to play Josh Allen. You have to play Steph Diggs. Singletary's made it very hard for you to sit him at this point. He's had a very good season so far.
You don't feel good about it, but you
kind of have
yeah.
to. I mean, it's the way it is. I mean, he's kind of put that on you to the point where he's played so well, you kind of have to play him now.
Was Zach Moss a scratch last week? I think he might have been, and I think he is back this week. So
Zach Moss was a scratch the first week, and he was back last week.
Yeah,
Zach Moss he actually scored 2 touchdowns last week.
That's
he
right.
put up some points.
But
that shows you how much I watched that game last week.
But Singletary had I think 13 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown.
He did have the
He's
most
not
work.
putting up great numbers, but he's putting up consistent numbers.
Yeah, it's very odd that all of a sudden he's starting to kind of break out a little bit. But other than that, I'm not going to break down this game for you. Anything other than that, we're going to move on.
Yeah, Buffalo just has to figure out who the hell they are.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and so does Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Next up is
He's a part of Buffalo.
yeah. I think they kind of they're going to ride on what happens with him. Like I think a lot of this is on him.
Yeah, if
and
he
not
gets
even
his
just
head out of
Buffalo.
his ass and starts playing good football, they're going to be a fucking deadly team.
Yeah, I think it's more so on him than it is even the team. I think right now that offense is gonna live and die by him.
Yep.
And he hasn't looked very good through 2 weeks.
They gave him the 6-year contract.
Yeah.
So you got to make it happen, and the rest of the pieces are there.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. All right, so next up is Indianapolis at Tennessee. This is -5 right now for Tennessee. 79% of the money's on Tennessee with that -5. Over-under's 47. Looks pretty even there. A little bit more on the under. And 84% of the money's on the money line for Tennessee. Dan, what do you got, bud?
This is one of the games I'm taking this week. It's on the website. I do like the Colts here a little bit. I still don't think the Titans are that good. We had talked about last week how much I love Carson Wentz, my adoration for the man, and the fact that he's out is just a plus for me. A little side note: how do you?
I love it. He's filling that seat very well.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Listen. The guy sprained not one but both ankles.
I know.
I've literally never seen this before. I don't know how you can sprain both your fucking ankles, but Carson Wentz can do it. I do think
Anything you can do, he can do better.
Yeah, if you want to look at it like that, I agree. So I think they have a good roster minus him. Who are they going to roll out? Is it going to be Eason? I don't know. I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot. I'm expecting the running backs to get a lot of checkdowns.
Yeah.
A lot of running, controlling the clock. Tennessee, they played basically 5 quarters out on the West Coast last week. It's going to be a little tough for them traveling. A little stat that I looked up that I kind of like too is 0-2 teams going into a division game are 14-5-1 the last 5 years against the spread. I don't know if Indy's going to come away with a win in this one, but I think that in a divisional game, I can see it being a field goal either way. I think Tennessee's, are they going to pound it with Henry? Sure, but they could be still a little bit overrated coming off of that win. And I'm going to like Indy with the points on this one.
Yeah, and if you guys want to check that out, Dan's bets are on the website, sotdet.com. Go to the show content area, the picks and show content area, and click on Danny Wise Picks. We also have our show picks from Tuesday on there, along with the confidence rating picks for this week. So back to the fantasy aspect of this game. Frank, do you see anybody that stands out in this game to you?
Stands out? No. Unfortunately, Tennessee's, we've talked about the last 2 weeks. Tennessee's looked borderline abysmal at this point. They're not the Tennessee team I think any of us thought we were getting.
Nope.
And with Indy, we were waiting and seeing. And Dan so lovingly has shared his feelings on Carson Wentz, and unfortunately, that's what we were all waiting to see.
As does the other person that sits in that seat normally.
They're not going to get worse today without Carson Wentz. Let's just leave it at that.
And that's kind of where I was going with it. Like, You don't know what you have in Indianapolis, and unfortunately, without Carson Wentz, you still don't know what you have.
Right.
That's a team that, unfortunately, like Buffalo, they're, in my opinion, polar opposite type teams, but same situation right now. They've got to come up with their identity. And as far as Indy goes, there's nobody on that team right now that I'm feeling that confident. Obviously, you're Derrick Henry. You have to play him. If you took him, he's a first-round back. He's locked in. Is he going to play? Is he going to eat today? The chance is always there. He pops off for 200 yards out of nowhere sometimes. This is definitely a game he could do that in. Do I see it happening? Not so much. I think Indy's got to be strong somewhere, and I think the defense is their only hope.
I think in this game, for me, the guy I'm going to lean on here is on the Indianapolis side of it is Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I think with Wentz out and Eason likely getting the start, you're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor. And actually, I would probably see some Nyheim Hines out of the backfield, some screen passes, some dump-offs. Michael Pittman Jr. is interesting. He came on last week. I think he was 8 for 123.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a career game for him.
Yeah, and he had 23% of the targets. But with Wentz in there is kind of the key with that one. We'll see how it plays out with Eason. If you trot Pittman out as your number 3, I think you could do a lot worse. I wouldn't mind trotting him out there, along with Zach Pascal. He's looked pretty damn good through the first few weeks as well. On the other side of the ball, I think I'd sit Julio today. You play A.J. Brown, you play Derrick Henry, and if you're in a one quarterback league and you have Ryan Tannehill, you probably draft him as your number 1. If you have a better option, I might play him. If you don't, obviously got to trot him out there. I wouldn't necessarily expect big things from him today, though. But that's just me. I could very well be wrong, and they could actually have this could be a Tennessee get-right game. They just haven't looked very good throughout the season so far in the first 2 games, so I'm kind of leery on them.
Joe, I'm going to throw this one out to you. I haven't seen any questions about fantasy plays, but I'm going to ask you one for myself, not in the league that we're playing each other, unfortunately. But
damn it.
I'm smart enough to look at that before we go on. I'm like, can't ask Joe about this team.
You have so many leagues, you got to get them straight first.
Unfortunately, I've only got 2. I've kind of narrowed it down. But
smart man.
Right now, I've got Claypool slated in my flex. Other options I have Chase, Galladay, Connor, Singletary, Pittman, Pollard.
All right, so go over that again.
All right, so we have Chase Claypool currently in the flex. He's got Cincinnati. Bench right now, we have Jamar Chase, Kenny Galladay, James Conner, Devin Singletary, Michael Pittman, Tony Pollard.
I play Claypool.
Claypool. That's why I have it.
I have him ranked as a top 20 receiver today. Could fall anywhere between, say, 15 and 20, in my opinion.
Okay.
Deontay Johnson's out, so he's going to see more time.
I think that's kind of the deciding factor right there, having Deontay out.
Yeah, and that actually takes us into our next matchup, actually, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is
I just thought it might be a good segue.
minus 2.5. Did you do that on purpose?
I mean, I wanted to know the answer to that question. I figured that was a good time to ask that.
All right, well, I like it. Good job. Much better than your segue on Tuesday into your live read. But,
that was horrible.
That was abysmal. But anyway, we'll gloss over that. If you want to hear that, check out our podcasts on the SOTDET website. Go to SOTDET, click on podcast, and click the latest version, this last week's episode, and you'll hear a very poor transition into a live read by Frank. But anyway.
I just want to throw it out there real quick. We just got a text message.
Okay.
It says, Dan, you are the man. Great show, guys. Carson Wentz sucks.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Let's see. So next matchup is Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, minus 2.5. 54% of the money's on Pittsburgh here. So it's pretty even as far as the spread goes. Over-under's 43.5. Pretty much dead nuts even on that one as well. And then money line, 61% of the money is on Pittsburgh money line. This one seems like the public and all the money is kind of split up pretty even on this one. Dan, what do you got for it?
Yeah, this line's kind of interesting. It's a shorter line, being 3 or less than 3. And if this was a Steelers team of past, there's no way that this line is this low against the Bengals. That's for sure. But we haven't seen a very impressive Pittsburgh team through 2 weeks. One thing that's going to kind of keep me off of Cincy is the coaching. You have Tomlin versus Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor is 1-15-1 on the road as a coach. Since he is in a back-to-back road stretch here. Devin Bush, I believe, is back. Now missing TJ Watt. He's going to be out again. That's obviously huge. I do think that kind of changed the entire game against the Raiders last week. I think that's probably the only reason that the Raiders ended up winning that game is once TJ Watt went out, you kind of just saw everything change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's about all I got for this, other than, it should be a pretty sunshiny day in Pittsburgh. This could be one of those old-fashioned whompings. I think the coaching matchup, definitely, you got to give the edge to Pittsburgh. Tomlin's just such a cool fucking guy. You can just picture him on the sidelines walking up and down with his aviators today, just cruising to a cool victory over the rival. But, not one I'm going to be betting. Not super exciting to me, but that's my take on it.
Gotcha.
One thing I was sitting here looking at, and I'll propose it as a question. Over-under sitting at 43. Feels kind of low.
That does feel low.
It feels low, but again, it's to me and the public, it seems low, right?
Right.
So you'd want to take the over.
Public's always going to take over anyway.
Right, because you don't want to root for you don't want to watch and root for a low-scoring game. So the public kind of takes over anyway. But when it comes down to it, you're looking at it and you're like, all right, I want to take the over in this game because it just seems low. But again, it might be one of those trap plays by Vegas, because if Vegas has this as an over-under of 43.5, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, ESPN's got it sitting at 43 even right now.
And as easy as it is, sorry to cut you off, but as easy as it is to go over 43, it's also that easy to go under 43. You have a couple really long, 6, 7, 8 minute drives, a couple of turnovers, punts, and next thing you know, you're looking at a 17-13 final.
And you're not looking at either team being dominant.
No.
And I can see Pittsburgh controlling the ball in this game. I can see a lot of Najee Harris today.
Yeah.
You might be able to get what you actually drafted him for today in fantasy.
I think you're needing it, and you're definitely craving it at this point, right?
Yeah, and I think today could be the day you get it. I think they're going to control the ball a lot. I think Chase Claypool could hit one or two big plays. I think Juju is a good play in this one over the middle and on shorter routes. I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to rely on him with Deontay Johnson out. And as far as the other side of the ball, honestly, even without TJ Watt, I kind of try to stay away from Joe Burrow. I try to stay away from Mixon. Higgins is out. You could possibly get a long TD or a long play from Chase here and there. But overall, I don't see this offense being able to do very much. Listen, Joe Burrow's been sacked 5 times in the first 2 games apiece.
They're still not doing anything to protect the guy.
No, and I mean that's a 14.9% sack rate.
That's massive.
And Pittsburgh ranks 3rd in quarterback pressures. So even without TJ Watt, you're still going to get that quarterback pressure.
Yep.
They're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to get to Burrow. And he's been sacked. Like I said, he's been sacked 5 times in each game so far. So I don't necessarily think this is going to be a great matchup for him. I kind of stay away from a lot of those guys. Chase is a 3rd wide receiver or in DFS as a crapshoot play, maybe. But that side of the ball I'm staying away from. I think I'm just going to jump to the next game unless you have anything else, Frank.
No, on that one, it's more of a... As unsexy as this matchup is, in my opinion, this is one that I'm going to actually sit and watch. This is one that could be really exciting or really boring. And I'm just going to be the guy who's a sucker to find out.
All right. So, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
Hey.
Next matchup is New Orleans at New England. It's -3 for New England. 68% of money is on New England with that -3. Over-under is 43.5. Again, in this game, dead nuts even money on that over-under. And money line is 61% money on New England. I know which way I'm leaning in this game, Dan, and it's towards the New England side of the ball, either money line or even giving up the 3 points. But tell us what you got on this one.
I like that. I'm probably going to lay off myself if I did have to pick. I'm always going to go Belichick. They do have a look ahead next week. Since Tom's left, they haven't played him yet, and that's the next week matchup. So that might be something that they're looking forward to a little bit. You know that the media is going to be talking about that definitely
God.
all week. You know, Tom versus Bill, who's going to win?
It's going to be the pregame conversation, and it drives me nuts when we talk about next week before this week. But
Yeah.
It is what it is.
yeah,
right?
that's
all
the
you're
way
gonna
the
get.
media works.
Yeah, Saints are definitely going to be healthier this week. You know, not only the coaching staff coming off the COVID, but their defense has been struggling a little bit. They are getting healthier. Anybody's going to want to bring their A game against Bill. You got Sean Payton coming off a loss. He does cover really well coming off of a loss, but you know, a short line. I'm going to take Bill all day.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with that one. I'm not necessarily going to play it, but I maybe I will. But I lean towards New England minus the 3, and definitely if you're looking at the money line,
I'm not expecting a ton of points in this game.
no. I think that 43.5 is pretty good. I think it'll probably fall under in my opinion.
Could, yeah.
But that 43.5 is definitely a smart or a good out there. It tells you Vegas is not expecting a large output in this game as far as points go, and you probably shouldn't either. And with that being said, we'll get over to the fantasy side of the ball. If you're not expecting a lot of points out of this game, you probably shouldn't play too many players in this game. I mean, you're looking for points in fantasy, and if you got Kamara, you're looking to play him. But Bill has long been a defensive tactician that schemes away opponents and schemes away the top threat of a team. So with that being said, I wouldn't necessarily expect a huge game out of Kamara because Bill Belichick is just that good of a coach on the opposite side of the ball. But you have to play him. He's your guy. I would stay away from Winston this week. I just haven't seen enough out of him that makes me think I want to play him against the New England defense that I believe ranks, third in the league, I think, right now?
Dude, he's
They're
got
up there.
260 total yards on the season.
Yeah. I don't,
Well, that first outing, he had 5 touchdowns, which inflated his numbers. So
Yeah.
then people were automatically like, oh, I got to get Winston. They were inflated numbers.
Like, I will steer right into it and self-admit, I'm a fucking hater of this dude. I can't stand Jameis.
Yep.
So
Have been for years.
yeah, that's why I asked the question. Like, we're going into week 3 and we're talking about a dude that doesn't even have 300 passing yards.
Yep.
that's nuts.
Like, are we serious right now in fantasy football?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you don't fucking play him.
Amen.
No.
And unfortunately, I feel the same way about Mac Jones right now. He hasn't shown you anything.
Nope. I stay away from him this week. I agree with you, Frank. I stay away from him this week. Even in a 2-quarterback league, you've got to have a better option than that.
Yeah.
You just do. And if you don't, I feel bad for your team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
Even
about
if
that.
you have Kirk Cousins, I go with him over either of these two.
I go with Kirk Cousins
Oh,
today
yeah.
all day. We'll get to that game, but
Yeah.
I'll go with Kirk Cousins all
Put
day.
some respect
but
on
like,
his name.
I don't even. I haven't even looked at who they're playing.
Yeah.
But in general, like, he's, in my opinion, one of the most.
I generally try to stay away from rookies unless, you know, you have the mobile aspect. If you're going to get those
Yeah.
rushes, sure. But especially in that Patriots offense, they're not asking him to do a whole lot. I don't see the numbers this year. Maybe next year, but
Right.
you know, he's not going to be a good start pretty much ever this year on paper. At
And
least.
it's
Yeah.
funny because I still see him being a Rookie of the Year candidate. Like, I think as long as he keeps New England above 500, he's going to be in that conversation because he's just been reliable.
He's going to be in the conversation, but your rookie of the year is going to end up being the guy that puts up numbers. Mm-hmm. Whether it's wins or losses or anything.
Right.
Like MVP is about wins and losses more than it is just numbers. And even then, sometimes it just slants towards numbers. But with wins and losses, rookie of the year, it's kind of about numbers. And he's going to be in the talks as long as New England's in the running and as long as New England's winning. But I don't think he's going to win it by any means. He hasn't proven to me after 2 weeks that he's going to win rookie of the year. On that side of the ball, though, I do like Damian Harris in this game. There's really not much I like in this game at all. Damian Harris and maybe James White is like a deep dart throw in like DFS or something like that, or if you're hit at running back and you've had some injuries. Say you had Mostert and then you picked up not Hastings but Mitchell. Say you've got some injuries. James White is a guy you could throw out there. He's been getting targets. But Damian Harris, I love Damian Harris in this game. But other than that, I got nothing on this game, and I'm kind of going to gloss past it unless we have anything else, boys.
No, we do have a question, though, from the Twitch stream. Maze and Brew is asking, Dan, are you smashing that Burrow over half a pick?
Maze and Brew, I do love prop bets, something that I want to start speaking on a little bit more. when we get to this next game. I think that's the next game. I'll talk about one here, but that's one I haven't really looked at. I can definitely see it hitting. What did he have, 2 or 3 last week?
Against the Pittsburgh defense and against the pressure they're going to bring and the fact that they've given up so many quarterback pressures and so many sacks.
Can definitely see a pick happening.
Over a half a pick, yeah, I would sprinkle some money on that and feel okay about even if I lose it, I'll feel okay about it because to me it's a good bet.
Like any other bet, it's all about what the odds are. I haven't looked at this. As long as it's not minus 140, 150 or higher,
right.
I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, if it's minus 110,
all day.
Yeah,
yeah.
I absolutely
one
take
that even my casual betting ass would take.
Hop on.
Yeah.
So next matchup, and Maze and Brew, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate the questions. If you guys have any questions out there at all, you can text us at 313-403-8448, or you can, we might even take some calls today, maybe.
I was going to say, I don't know what we got going on with this thing, but
we have it set up. We have it set up to take calls. If you want to give us a call, we can try it out. We've had some problems with it. If we can't get you on in the call, we apologize, but we'll try.
Okay.
But again, text us at 313-403-8448, or you can message us on any of the live streams that you are watching right now, and we will get those. They will go right to us, and we can answer those for you. Any questions you have at all. Next up, we have the Falcons at the Giants. And this is as non-sexy as it gets in this season. Atlanta is 0-2. New York is 0-2. New York is at home giving up 2.5, and that's not even the normal home spread giveaway. The normal home spread giveaway is 3. They're giving up 2.5, which tells you that Atlanta's kind of favored as a team in this game, barely. It's dead nuts even on the money here as far as the spread goes. It's over 47.5, which the public is just pounding the over in this game. And then 56% of the money is on the money line, Atlanta. I think they're just looking for the plus money in that one in an even matchup, which makes sense there. Dan, what do you got on this game, bud?
I mean, you guys are talking about non-sexy. I think this is vomit-inducing.
Yeah.
Level of just shit show.
How the fuck is the over-under at only 47? These are two teams who might as well not even have a defense.
It's true.
Yeah.
It really is true.
I think Atlanta might be bottom 3. From what you've seen through 2 weeks, they are bad. They're a bad team, bad play calling, no talent. You just watch them, you don't know what the hell they're doing out there. They're in a back-to-back on a road stretch here. Historically, it feels like every time you watch these two teams play, it's always Giants. I would probably go Giants. It doesn't feel good, but I do think Danny Dimes is he's looked like he's taken a little step forward through 2 weeks.
He actually has, and I hate saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but
no, and I was out on him.
Or the Giants.
No, I was out on him early, but he's looked pretty decent through 2 weeks.
Maybe a small crawl. I'll agree with.
Listen,
Okay.
I won't give him the full step, but I'll give him a small crawl.
he's taken a half a step.
Yeah.
He's not moving backwards.
Right,
It
which
doesn't
is-
look like he's moving backwards,
Yes.
which I think everybody kind of expected.
Well, and he has taken a small step forward. He's looked pretty good. They haven't played very great defenses. They played Washington, which we all thought they were going to be a better defense than they are.
They might not be that great.
They might not be as good as we thought they were. And in this game, they're playing a defense with Atlanta that might as well not even be on the field half the time.
Agreed. They're also getting a little healthier, too. Galladay, this is another week. Barkley, this is another week, getting a little healthier. They played on Thursday last week, so they have a little bit of extra rest, too.
Yep.
Do you ever feel comfortable laying points with the Giants? No.
No.
You don't. But there's a jersey being retired today of one elite Manning, and I think that's going to be just enough to get him there. Give me the G-Men today. Give me the G-Men. 2-time Super Bowl winning Eli Manning. Let's go.
The Eli that looks like he has Down syndrome. Go ahead, Frank. Do you have anything on the fantasy?
Two-time Super Bowl winner. How many Super Bowls does Stafford have?
Listen, don't get me started on that one.
All right.
Don't get me started on that one. But
We're really in a day where Eli Manning's jersey is getting retired. Now,
Yes.
I know he has 2 Super Bowls. That's indisputable.
But that's
And he
the
won
perfect
them-
theme for this game of just wanting to throw up. You're retiring Eli fucking Manning jersey.
We live in a world where Eli Manning's jersey got retired.
Yeah.
I think he only had 2 winning seasons.
2 Super Bowls.
They were the two they got Super Bowls in. He was an ass quarterback other than that.
We also live in a world where he co-hosts a show with his brother who has a personality, and he co-hosts
He's
and
a
says
wet
like,
rag out there.
he says like
literally-
3 words three words during the entire game. That's it.
They take him off the screen half the time
Yeah.
in his own show.
If they could show a guest, they show a guest over Eli
Like
100% of the time.
they would have been better off putting Corky from Life Goes On with Peyton Manning, and he would have had better insight than Eli Manning does.
Yeah, I don't see why they forced that one, honestly. Obviously, Peyton makes sense. Everybody loves Peyton. He's the personality, but yeah, nobody's excited about Eli.
I really feel like Peyton was like, if you want me to do it, you got to give my brother a contract.
I can see that.
I'd rather see Archie Manning out there with Peyton Manning than Eli Manning.
A little senility always goes a long way. I mean, you see Al Michaels in the booth. You see Chris Collinsworth. It'll play fine.
I mean, the Wings had Larry Murphy forever.
Yeah.
I'm talk about senile.
This is true.
Anyway, so fantasy side of the Atlanta versus Giants game. What do we got on this one, Frank?
Fantasy side of things, pray for your team if you're relying on any of these guys. We've talked about Danny Dimes. He's unfortunately leading New York in rushing yards as well.
Yeah.
That just kind of tells you how bad of a situation the Giants are in.
Yep.
And somehow Atlanta's in a worse situation. So, in all honesty, like Sterling Shepard, if you're in a pinch, he's been catching the ball. He's got about 100 yards each week.
He's got 28% of the target share there. 28% of the target share. That's insane.
He's sitting
That's
at 16
massive.
receptions, 270 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
the target share for him it's incredible.
So, I mean, just based on numbers, he's going to get you points. He's got 16 receptions on the year. Give it a shot if you need to. He's a safe play, I would say, as a flex for sure. I'm not going to say desperately start him as one of your receivers. Ridley is always, in my opinion, he's one of the better receivers in the league. Right now, he's really not getting the opportunity to show that, unfortunately.
It's painful as a Ridley owner.
Yeah. But in a situation like today, that opportunity might be there.
Well, which is weird because they've been throwing the ball 70% of the time. And Calvin Ridley has been almost non-existent in those games. And it's just insane to me how little Matt Ryan throws to him. I think this could be a get-right game for Calvin Ridley. I think this could be a game where he goes out and gets you like 150 and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
It very well could be.
But I also see a situation where he doesn't do shit.
Which is
Like
which
last
I agree, and it's sad. For some reason, all the pundits and all the fantasy experts right now have Mike Davis as this is a get right game for him. And I'm sorry, I'm just staying away from him again.
He doesn't even have 90 yards in 2 weeks.
I don't
he needs
see
a get right game.
I don't see the volume for him. I don't see him getting the volume. Cordero Patterson has been taking snaps away from him.
Mm-hmm.
He's been taking touches away from him. Cordero Patterson looks like the better back by all intents and purposes, by all accounts. Even though he's technically a wide receiver, he looks like the better back right now. And as good as Mike Davis was filling in for an injured Christian McCaffrey last year, he hasn't looked like that this year on Atlanta.
If you pull up a dictionary and you look up Jag, just a guy, Mike Davis's fucking picture has to be there.
Right.
He doesn't do anything special. They don't use him in any creative ways. If you want to just keep shoving him up the gut for 3-4 yards at a time at a max, go for it. But I have no interest.
Which is bad because they can utilize him more than that. They just don't, and they haven't, and they've utilized Cordero Patterson much more than that. So I'm staying away from this game. Almost all the fantasy experts have this as a Mike Davis get-right game. I do not.
I agree with
I do
you,
not. As far as the Giants side of the ball, Frank, I agree with you. Sterling Shepard's a guy I would trot out there. 28% of the target share is and 9.5 targets a game is a rate you can't argue with.
Based on nothing other than numbers alone, he's worth a chance.
Yeah, and Galladay, you could throw him in the garbage like I said before the season started.
He's questionable. He's not even a sure go.
Yeah, which and he was questionable in both the first two games, wasn't he? As far as like his play,
Yeah.
I don't even know if he was questionable. I don't even know if he was questionable injury wise. But the guy, I never saw him as anything special in Detroit,
No.
even though Detroit fans always saw him as like a number one top 10 wide receiver. I always
Detroit fans.
said,
Yeah.
Detroit fans.
and people argued with me constantly I always said Galladay is nothing special. You will see this when he leaves because he's going to leave and he's going to show you that he's nothing special. He'll get a big contract and he'll be a fucking bust.
And you even
that's
saw
what's
what
happening.
happened with that big contract. Like, he had to sit and wait and wait and wait for a desperate team to come around and then overpay.
I didn't understand the signing. It didn't make a lot of sense.
It still doesn't.
It still doesn't.
And it was
It
going to
still
take a
doesn't.
sucker like New York to do it.
Yep.
Well, that's
That's the front office.
that's-
I'm more
Get-
surprised it wasn't the Jets, to be honest.
well, that's Gettleman for you.
Yeah.
The guy's a shit show as a general manager, and Gettleman just will fucking throw money at anybody. He just doesn't know what he's doing.
I mean, for a multi-billion-dollar industry, there's so much ineptitude in some of these front offices. It's fucking amazing.
yeah, I actually see this as maybe a get right game for Saquon. I can see him having a very good game today, running it through the tackles, along with getting some receptions on the perimeter, maybe a screen pass or two. There's certain guys that I think you got to play in this game. You got to play Ridley. If you drafted Kyle Pitts, you got to play him because you drafted him high. Saquon, this could be your get right game for Saquon, so trot him out there again. Other than that, maybe some deep throws as Daniel Jones, but I'm not really playing anybody other than that. Sterling Shepard, you got to play. I disagree with the pundits on Mike Davis get right game, so I'm sitting him. Sorry.
We actually we have a question here. Dre5004 says, thanks for the advice last week, guys. Got another wide receiver toss-up. Don't love my options, but they all have solid matchups. Shepard, Julio, Bob Woods. He needs to play two of them in a full PPR.
Shepard and Woods. Done. I don't like Julio this week. I just don't. And I could be wrong. I could be off on this one. You guys can tell me this. But I like
I don't
Woods.
think you are.
I like Woods in this game. I think LA is going to be able to throw the ball a lot on Tampa, and I think they're going to try to take Kupp out of this game because Kupp has been so wide open. His average catch this year, he's had so much separation from receivers this year, or from defensive backs this year. He's leading the league. It's insane how much he's leading the league in distance away from defensive backs on receptions. So I think they're gonna try to take him out of the game a little more. He looks like Stafford's go-to option, but he's looked like that because he's been so fucking wide open. That can't continue. Woods is gonna have a get-right game this week, I believe, and that's just a better matchup for me, I think, than Julio and Shepard, as we just talked about. He's got 28% of the target share. He's got 9.5 targets a game. You have to go with him. You have to, in my opinion. You guys, what do you think?
Bob Woods is starting in my ESPN league, the one that I'd asked you about with the flex position earlier. So that is a lock in my number 2 spot for the foreseeable future. I don't see any reason to move him. Matchups, obviously, if I get a sexy matchup or something with one of the guys on my bench, I might pull him out. But for the most part, I'm leaving him in. 28% of the targets, I think anybody who's got those numbers is worth a play.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can tell you anything different. Julio's Julio. He's always a great play. I'm never going to hate on somebody for playing him. But the matchup's not there this week, in my opinion. It's not a bad matchup, but
yeah, I think when it comes down to it, I'm not dissing Julio. I'm just looking at the 3 guys you gave us, and in my opinion, the 3 guys you gave us, for me personally, and I love the question. I'm not hating on you for your question. For me personally, it's an easy answer.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously see the appeal for Julio, especially if you watch that catch last week that was ruled not a catch. I mean, that was vintage Julio. In my mind, he got both toes down in the back of the end zone. It was sick. It was like, wow, where's this guy been? But you can't rely on that. I'm still out on Tennessee right now in general.
Yep.
And Bob Woods, you're going to start him every week. And I lean definitely Shepard over Julio this week.
Yeah, it's just hard to argue that 28%.
Yeah, massive.
Like when you lay that number out there, and you look at what most players are included in, outside of your running backs who see, not quite 50%, but
if your wide receivers, approaching high teens, you're happy with it.
Listen,
if you got somebody at 10%, you're like, yeah,
okay, he's getting some.
If your wide receiver is reaching close to 20% in target share, you're happy as hell.
Thrilled.
And then if it's over 20%, you're ecstatic. If it's approaching 30%,
it's nasty.
You're trotting that guy out there every week because the quarterback does nothing but look for that person.
And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I know you are the fantasy expert here. Sterling Shepard's been. I'm not going to say sleeper.
I feel so weird with you calling me that. just
I call you the expert because I'm somebody who knows a fair amount about fantasy. Not a ton, but a fair amount. And you make my knowledge look like the equivalency of like kindergarten knowledge.
All right.
Like just the amount of shit you know about fantasy football is so far beyond what most people know, in my opinion, that I just refer to you as the expert.
Well, all right.
As long as Shepard stays healthy, though, he's gonna keep eating.
Yeah. But he's kind of been, I don't want to say a sleeper candidate for a few years now, but he's been a guy that's been on the radar. Like this is a guy that's just been waiting to get the opportunity, and now he's getting the opportunity.
You can't expect that target share to stay. Obviously, there is going to be some regression, but as long Ingram's going to come back at some point. I think he's still out today. However, he is a big piece of shit, and I can't expect him to take too many.
He's been a guy that everybody's thought was gonna break out for,
just never
for 4 years now, 5 years now, and it's just not going to happen. It's just not happening.
Give up on Evan Ingram. Obviously, Barkley's going to start getting a couple more receptions here, so yeah, he's not going to be flirting with that 30% target share. But as long as he stays healthy, you can see 20%.
Yeah,
and
easy.
Galladay's going to have to get that contract paid to him.
You're going to start seeing some chirping.
He's going to have to. They're going to force the ball to him.
He started chirping last week. Mm-hmm. You're going to see more and more of that, I bet.
Well, and honestly, I think the more he chirps,
he doesn't finish there.
No, the more he chirps,
he's going to chirp his way out.
The more he chirps, the more he's going to find himself on the bench.
Yeah, I don't think Danny Jones gives a shit either.
Yeah.
He
you
doesn't.
Can get away with that in Detroit,
right?
And it was what it was. Like nobody was going to hate on you for the situation.
You got
I think
New
you handled
York
it like
media.
a bitch, to be honest. But that's personal opinion. But yeah, New York media. Good luck with that.
Yep. Speaking of Detroit, the next matchup is Baltimore at Detroit.
And I was actually just going to wait for us to go that route, but we actually have a question.
Okay.
And Nico is asking Dan what he would do with the Lions minus 7.5.
Where is that question coming from?
That is coming from our Google Voice text messaging.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Nice
feature.
feature.
You guys get all of them except for the one little thing that I get.
All right. I like that.
This is tough for me. Baltimore coming off of that win against the Chiefs. You know that's always going to be the game that they want to win the most pretty much on their schedule every year. That's the team that they get compared to every year when it comes to who they're expecting to be in the finals for the AFC. So I always like to fade teams coming off of a massive win like that. This Lions team looks good at times. I hate that just came out of my mouth, at least through these 2 weeks.
I hate the fact that it came out of your mouth, and the fact that I hate the fact that I fucking agree with it.
I know, man. It doesn't feel fucking good at all.
I just can't stop laughing because it feels so weird to hear somebody say that out loud.
I thought they were going to be a fucking dumpster fire this year.
They are.
And they are. They are. Don't get me wrong.
Just half the time.
But exactly. They don't look like it all the time. I think this is a Lions team that you're going to find having some backdoor covers.
Yeah. This is one.
And this could be one here for me.
Is this an SOL game?
That could also be, but that could also be any week that the Lions play.
As far as SOL, as far as they could win this game, no.
Okay.
I think
no.
Yeah.
I think it's an SOL game where I think this game could play out exactly how San Francisco game played out when they played San Francisco at home. I think
and then you just chip your way
they
back
get down
into
big. They decide to coast through. They decide to play some prevent defense.
Yep.
Detroit gets a couple of late touchdowns in like the third or the fourth quarter, and it becomes a closer game than what it really, really, truly is.
I think it's going to be a little slower pace too. I can see both sides running the ball quite a bit.
Is this Kansas City from a couple years ago?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Could be.
Just the situation of we're going to have to hear about this.
About how you competed with the Super Bowl contender?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
My favorite play for this game is actually getting into the player props. Is Hawkinson over 5.5 receptions?
Oh, I would hammer that.
Yeah. I hammered it earlier in the week. It might still be sitting there. I haven't looked as of this morning.
You gotta start sending me some of these things, man.
I will. I will. Well, I want to make sure that I know what the hell I'm doing first.
Right.
Bets have been pretty good so far this year. But the offense runs through him.
Yes.
You get some Cephas on the outside, but everything runs through Hawkinson. And you just saw the game that Kelsey had. You just saw the game that Waller had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him getting less than 6-7 catches, honestly.
Nope.
Because Harbaugh has,
Nope.
for some reason, and the NFL is changing, but Harbaugh is still of that mindset where you put a linebacker on a tight end.
Yeah.
And
No matter
some
who they are.
Yeah.
Yep. And
some of these tight ends you cannot
can't.
cover with a linebacker anymore.
And I think, Kittle's still probably in the top 3 conversation, probably the third best in terms of, fantasy production.
Yeah.
I think Hockenson has probably superseded him at this point.
I agree.
And
Fantasy-wise, yes.
I would say it would go, obviously Kelsey and then Waller. I would put Hockenson right behind there. In terms of the spread, unfortunately, I would probably take the Lions. I'm not going to bet it myself. Like I said, I'm just taking the Hockenson prop.
Well, as far as that goes, 74% of the money is on Baltimore minus the 7.5.
Yeah, see,
and
that's another one.
It's another public one.
That's another one.
To me, this game is lopsided. Detroit at home, getting 7.5. I look at this and it just
they have no expectations going into this game.
Everyone wants to take Baltimore minus the 7.5 because they just came off a big win against Kansas City. But to me, it's an odd one for me. And if I were to sprinkle anything on this game, I would sprinkle a little bit on Detroit covering that 7.5. Personally, the over/under's at 50.5. 64% of the money's on the over. 97% of the money is on the Baltimore money line. Which
I think that's a smart play.
I don't think that's. I think the 3% are Detroit fans that really are bought into the fact that Dan Campbell is this guy who's going to make players actually eat kneecaps. But
I mean, there's no reason to ever take a money line when it's over 4 points.
No.
For a favorite, unless you're throwing it in a parlay.
It's
So
absurd.
that's pretty irrelevant data. Those bettors are just pissing money away.
Right, and that's an absurd amount to put on a money line. And like I said, the 3% are just sprinkling money to try and hope for that plus 300.
Tease it, do something.
Yeah. On the fantasy side of it, Dan, I think you hit it with the Lions. I think the only true play today is Hockenson. I love Hockenson today. I love him every game
week.
now.
Every week
he has become tight end 3, just because of his no pun intended, but pun intended, his Lions share of the targets. I mean, he's being targeted.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
we just let him have a couple
Yeah.
of those.
Oh, man.
He's being targeted. I mean, that's what I would have said for anybody here, but being that it is the Lions,
It was too
he's
good.
he's getting the Lions share of the targets, and that's just the way it is. I mean,
Yeah.
He is getting targeted more than anybody else on this team. He is open more than anybody else on this team. He is the best receiver they have on this team because the rest of their receivers belong in the CFL. And that's being generous. Jared Goff, listen, if you tried him out there, you're expecting garbage time. He's been okay for you. He did well in the first half against Green Bay because that Green Bay defense is a back alley abortion. In the second half, he didn't do anything. And Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, if you have them as a 2 or a flex, I still trot them out. Other than that, I stay away from anybody else on that side of the ball because it's a crapshoot. Cephas is a crapshoot. I know Tyrell Williams is not expected to play, and you've got some other guys on that side of the ball, but Cephas is still a crapshoot. Hawkins is really your only number 1 true fucking start on that team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting Swift. I'm starting him, I believe, as a flex option in a 2-flex league.
Yeah.
Actually, oddly enough, the one you and I are playing in. Outside of that, and Hockenson, there ain't. You want to talk about an unsexy matchup?
Well, and on the other side of the ball, I talk about a sexy matchup. I love Tyson Williams today.
Yep.
I love him today. That matchup for me today is you saw last week. Everyone thought it was going to be split. Even me, like you weren't sure how they were going to split it. But Tyson Williams has emerged as the guy that Harbaugh is going to kind of lean on as the running back. He's going to sprinkle in Murray. But when it comes down to it, Tyson Williams is getting the carries.
He looks good too.
He does. He looks
good.
hungry. He looks like he's making the right decisions, the right cuts. He's hitting the right hole. He just is running with a little bit of a fire. And for me, this matchup is perfect. I would play him all day, every day in this matchup. I will play him in DFS for sure.
Yep.
And with the way things are going, he should at least make it through this week before he gets hurt. Everybody in Baltimore is getting hurt. Like,
it's a very solid point. Very solid point. Okay,
Le'Veon Bell is just biding his time, making music videos, waiting for his opportunity.
Speaking of which, and I sent it to you and Chris, Joe.
Yeah.
Darren Waller now makes music.
Apparently.
Oh, man.
Darren Waller has a song, has a whole album, first of all.
Get the fuck out.
But he has a song, an individual song.
With Max Crosby?
Featuring Max Crosby.
I love it.
I got to listen to this one.
I do too.
Yeah, when we're done, I will definitely throw it on. But,
Wow.
yeah, I found that this week, and it's bad, but I didn't hate it. Like, it's not good. It's not good at all.
Didn't expect it to be.
Well, I love the fact that it takes us into our next matchup. Our next matchup is Miami at Vegas. And I will tease something here. In this matchup, Dan has his play of the month. So the Miami at Vegas is minus 3.5 for Vegas. 87% of the money is on Vegas minus 3.5. Over-under is 45, and 60% of the money is on the under. And in this game, 92% of the money is on the money line for the Raiders. Dan, give us your play of the month.
I'm pretty much expecting to eat shit on this because I've been talking this up for the last few days to everybody that's been asking me what my thoughts are. So, I'm putting it out there. I fully expect to take my licks if it doesn't work. That's my disclaimer.
Just do it. Put it out there.
That's my disclaimer. I got it at 4 earlier in the week. I would still take it at 3.5. Obviously, you're going to like 4 a little bit more just in case something happens.
Right. For a push.
For a push, right. But the big thing is, like we had just talked about earlier with the money, the casual bettor thinks that this is such a fucking slam dunk for Vegas that you just have to be on the other side. I don't think Tua, jury's still out on Tua. The fact that he's missing a week, I don't think is a negative at all. I like a solid backup quarterback with a full week of practice. If you don't include rookies that are waiting to buy their time or, for their opportunity to start, I would argue that Brissett is probably the most sought-after, best, consistent backup quarterback that a team could ask for. With a full week of practice with Brissett, I think he's every bit as good, if not better, than Tua in the matchup. Miami, they got that last game kind of got away from them early. It's another thing that we talked about when those games go like that so early on in the match that they kind of just give up. You lose your quarterback. On Vegas side of the ball, you're missing Josh Jacobs. Richie Incognito's still out. That's a big one.
Yeah, they moved him to injured reserve.
Yeah, that's he's huge, one of the best linemen in the entire league. They are saying that Carr was a full go this week, but he was banged up. You don't have to be 100% to avoid the injury report. So just that he's not on there doesn't mean that he's necessarily 100%.
Right.
There's a little bit of overreaction too with those wins from Las Vegas. You were playing Baltimore, which their defense just got shredded back-to-back weeks. Not as good as they looked. That game against Pittsburgh, the dynamic completely changed once T.J. Watt went out. I've had multiple people asking me about this one, and just the fact that it seems so obvious. Like I said, I like to be on the other side. I don't trust Gruden having a quote-unquote good team. This is
it's true.
Don't tell him that.
Well, no, I wouldn't have dreamed
he is
it.
sold. He's got the best team every year.
It's true.
I wouldn't make it out of Vegas. He bury me out there. The advanced line was a pick 'em. I don't think it should have moved 3.5, 4 points. Like I said, I'm prepared to eat shit, but I pounded Miami. I don't know if they're going to win this game. I might sprinkle a little bit on the money line, but I absolutely love them with the points this week.
Well, listen, the fact that this game started out as a pick 'em,
that's a lot of movement.
And then turned into a 4-point swing or a 3.5-point swing tells me that Vegas is trying to even this out because they know where it's going to land.
I see a lot of almost all the money coming in on most of the tickets coming in on Vegas, but some of the bigger bets coming in on Miami.
The bigger money is on Miami,
and that's usually a good indication of where the sharps are thinking.
Yeah, and I'm with you in thinking that. After you sent that to me, I took a look at this game and I looked at it, and I really wholeheartedly agreed with your take on it. When it comes down to it, I have nothing to say about this as far as fantasy goes, other than play Darren Waller.
That's it.
That's literally all I have.
Maybe Kenyon Drake.
Maybe.
I'm only playing Drake because I have Jacobs, and he's probably not
going to play. So yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, I don't even know that I would play Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
And there's really no way for me to talk about this game without sounding like a homer. I love the Raiders. If the Raiders are the team that they played the first 2 weeks playing like, they're going to slaughter Miami. Do you have faith that they are that team, though?
No.
That's the question. And
No.
I do like them season long. I do think that they are a good team. I just think this is, hey, anybody can beat anybody in the NFL, and this is one of those.
Well, this is a trap game. Miami's coming off a huge blowout loss.
Right.
Yep.
And the Raiders are coming off 2 back-to-back wins
Big
that
wins.
nobody really thought they were going to get.
Against huge opponents.
Right.
So
On
this is
paper.
one of those
Yeah.
games on paper where the public is so favored in one aspect of it. They're looking at recency bias.
Yep.
Which, if you look at it in general, Miami is not as bad of a team as they were as they showed last week, and Vegas is. I'm sorry, they're not as good of a team as they showed in the first 2 weeks.
I think this might be the best defense that Vegas has actually seen so far.
Yeah.
And anytime you're missing your starting quarterback, your defense is going to want to play a little bit harder too. That's a huge angle for me, and I don't think that it's even that big of a downgrade at quarterback if there is at all.
I disagree a little bit there, but I think with a full week of practice, Brissett is capable. Last week he came out and he looked
like
he
shit.
looked abysmal.
He looked like Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
So, all right. If we don't have anything else on this game, I think we're just going to move on.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate we're going to have much on this next one either. The Jets at Denver. It's a minus 10 for Denver. 65% of the money is on that minus 10. Over-under's 42 with pretty much an even split there. And money line, obviously, you know where the money line's at. Most of the money's on Denver, but that is fucking stupid because it's a minus 590. So do not touch that on the money line unless you're sprinkling it in with parlays. Dan, what do you got, bud?
No real interest here.
Done.
Yeah.
Done. No, you're good. I agree with you. Done.
The only interest I have in this game is Denver for real.
Yeah. And this is also not a measuring stick for them.
It's not
Yeah.
at all. I like the running backs as far as fantasy goes in this game. Like I'll take Melvin Gordon if I have to. It's a good matchup. Even Javonte Williams, who hasn't seen the lion's share of the carries here, but I would still.
He had to use that word just to defend that he was using it earlier.
I do use it all the time in fantasy because when you talk about shares and targets and things like that, it's my go-to word. But with Javonte Williams, he hasn't been getting the majority of the carries. I'll put it that way. Melvin Gordon's been getting those, but I still like him. He's been sprinkled in.
Equalish split,
I think Cortland Sutton's a good play in this game. Noah Fant is a sneaky play at tight end in this game. Even though he's been battling an injury, I'd still play him. And like my deep dart throw is still Corey Davis. Like if you really have to. For me, he's still getting enough targets. I think last week was a fluke outlier game for Zach Wilson. He's a rookie. He had a horrible game against New England. I think he's not going to look that bad every single week of the season. And I think
now you're going a mile high, though.
Well, I know. Hey, listen, it's not a good defense to go against, but I still think it's not going to be as bad as last week. And I think Corey Davis will have some receptions here. It's a matter of what you have behind him and whether you can play somebody else.
Yeah.
If you have to play him, he's not a horrible play here. He still sees targets from Zach Wilson.
He's not a horrible.
He's not a horrible.
I was really waiting for you to cut it off after the whore.
He's not a whore. He's not a whore.
Oh man.
Frank, anything on this game?
The only thing that I was going to mention, you already hit on it, was Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
Target wise, he's only caught 10, but he's gone for almost 200 yards. He's sitting at 173 on the season, 2 games. That's great totals.
Yep.
If Denver is for real, he's showing to be their number one. I guess even regardless if they're not for real, he's going to end up being their one. But
well, and in the last game he was 9 for 156, and he dominated with 12 targets.
Yeah.
So
and that's where I don't have targets and everything up on my screen.
Yeah. Well, that's where I come in. I got you. I got
exactly. If he was 9,
the guru.
We're a team here, man. That's where I got you. I got you on that one.
It's a Rain Man.
Yeah, there you go.
But, yeah, he's got 10 on the season for 173 yards. Last week he had a huge week. It's showing that, Denver's obviously comfortable with Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball. It's going to be interesting. A comparison that I got for Bridgewater right now, I'm starting to see Fitzpatrick in him. Not exactly the same playing style, but as far as where his career is going to take him, it seems like he's going to bounce around, but he's going to be a guy who can start wherever you put him.
And he can win.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to lose you the game. So if you have a good enough run game and you have a good enough defense, he's a guy that can win you some games.
Yeah.
He fits there. They don't need him.
And
he completely
does.
fits
They
there.
don't need him to win games. They just need him to not lose games.
And it's funny because everybody was so hell-bent on Denver trading for Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And
They don't need him.
They don't need him. And you saved all that money.
little did we know,
Hello.
they had the answer in-house the whole time, and it was Teddy Bridgewater.
Not Drew Lock.
As much as they wanted him to be the answer last year,
John
no.
Elway wanted him to be the answer.
As-
He wanted so bad for him to be the answer.
As surprising as that is, it's not true.
I know.
All right.
But outside of that, like, again, it's week 3. Right now, this is my breaker week, I guess. Essentially, this is the week where a team will finally tip the scale and show who they are. They start to, at least, in my opinion.
Right.
I got to see something from Denver. I know we're saying that they're for real. They're 2-0 team. I got to see something, and I think a week 3 matchup against the Jets is a perfect opportunity for that team to, I'm not going to say break out, but to start to announce their arrival.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next matchup is Tampa at Los Angeles. This is one of the marquee matchups of the week. We have a +1 for the home team in Los Angeles in the Rams, and 60% of the money is on Tampa to cover that -1.5. Over-unders at 55, 64% of the money is on the over, which doesn't surprise me because the public loves the over. And then the money line, 59% of the money is on the Tampa in money line. Dan, I know where you kind of lie on this one, and before you sent me this yesterday, I can tell you that I lean in the same direction. I had already placed a bet on Los Angeles on the Rams before you even talked to me about this yesterday. I love the Rams in this game. I just really do. They're the home team, and everyone is pumping up Tampa because of Tom Brady and the way he's played recently and the fact they're Super Bowl champions and they're defending Super Bowl champions. I love Los Angeles in this game at home. I just really do. And I think that defense gets right in this game, and I think they give Tampa some fits in this game. But you tell me where you're at in this game and tell everybody else some insight as far as that goes.
I love everything you just said. I think we expect Tampa to still be there towards the end of the season, whether that's Super Bowl or conference finals, or even second round of the playoffs. They're obviously one of the better teams out there, but I think LA is just flat out better. This is definitely the game of the week. It's going to be exciting from a casual better standpoint, from a fantasy standpoint. Pumped to watch this game. I hope it's not a letdown. I don't think Tampa really showed a whole lot through 2 weeks, especially last week. You beat up on Atlanta, who we just talked about could be one of the worst teams. You had 2 defensive touchdowns late in the fourth, so I kind of throw that game out. You let Dallas hang around with you for the entire game on that home opener. I think LA is, they match up well in every single category. They're very similar teams. The only edge I would probably give to Tampa, is Tom better than Stafford? Probably. Stafford looks great though, so I don't think it's that huge of an upgrade. And LA at home, I think they're on a little bit of a mission. I think they're gonna handle business. I think this is gonna be a pretty easy win, and I think you're gonna see that probably a quarter and a half into the game.
So we did have a text here. Dan, what are you doing with the Lions? It says -7.5, but it's actually +7.5, and it's from Nico.
So yeah,
We'd already gotten to that.
yeah.
one.
Frank had won.
No, did you already say that one? I'm sorry. I
No,
missed
you're
that.
fine. Frank had went over that, and I think we all kind of agreed that we like the Hawkinson prop, and we think maybe Lions backdoor cover with the 7.5.
I would sprinkle that. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize we touched on that one. I had just literally all just went through on my phone for some reason.
Joe, you're good.
Buddy, the amount of shit that you have to pay attention to,
Yep.
like, you're good.
You make
All
our
right.
lives easy.
If it was worth it, we would have made fun of you for forgetting
well.
about it. If we let you slide, just don't question it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Last thing I'll say about
yeah.
it too, I don't picture Tom as a guy to look ahead. I mean, this is a guy that calculates how many almonds he eats a day, how much water he's intaking. They do play the Patriots next week. Like we said, it's going to be hyped up, so it has to be said. I don't think Tom's going to look past it, but I also think he's just going to lose today.
I agree with that. I really do. I think this is a little bit of a letdown game for Tampa.
Yeah.
And they happen. They happen throughout the season with every team. It is
gonna
what
be
it
a
is.
humbling game for Tampa.
It is what it is, man. I mean, you look at, they had some games last year where they just did not look very good, and it happens with every single team. Even the best ones throughout the season have letdown games. I think this might be one of them. In L.A. against the Rams, who are a very good team.
All around.
Borderline Super Bowl contending team as well. And this is one of those games where I think L.A. kind of shows that they're in that same category. With that being said, you don't sit any of your guys. You don't sit Tom. You don't sit Godwin. You don't sit Mike Evans. You just don't necessarily expect big things from them. Antonio Brown is not going to make the trip. He's on the COVID list. So it's even more targets for Godwin and Evans, probably. Sprinkle in some Scotty Miller and some DFS if you want to, just for some from shits and giggles. Gronkowski, I think at this point you have to play him at your tight end. You drafted him and he's over exceeded expectations. You play him. And on the other side of the ball, I think Stafford, Kupp, Woods, you play those guys, and it looks like Sony Michel. Looks like Sony Michel's going to get the start probably over Henderson because he hasn't practiced all week.
Yeah.
He's got a rib injury, so Sony Michel is a guy who if you got him on your bench and you're short at running back, you might want to trot him out there maybe as a flex, or even as an RB2 in this game as a possibility. I think this might be a Woods over Kupp game in my opinion. Woods has a 24% target share. Believe it or not. I know that. I know. I'll give you a second to absorb that. With all the stats that Kupp has put up.
I was going to say Kupp has almost 300 yards on the season in 2 games.
Well, that's because Kupp has a 38% target share.
Yeah.
But Woods' target share is not small. It's a 24% target share. So that just goes to show you Stafford is only throwing to pretty much 2 guys on the entire roster besides some dump offs to the tight end and the running back.
He seems more consolidated with his throws than Goff was there.
And I'm going to call him this poor man, but this poor man's stuck in the same fucking position he's been stuck in forever, and that's that he has no run game.
Yep.
He finally leaves Detroit. Detroit's run game all of a sudden shows up.
After he leaves.
And he goes to L.A., and all of a sudden L.A.'s backfield completely is decimated, and he has no running game.
Yep. So, I mean, I would start all my guys in this game. I don't necessarily know if you expect big games from any of them, but I think it's going to be a shootout personally. So I would expect just some normal production from my guys that I start in this game. And I expect a Woods over Kupp game in this one. That's just my personal opinion. I know it's been Kupp the first 2 weeks by a mile, but I think Woods kind of closes that gap this week. I think Woods has a very good game this week because Tampa is going to try to take out Kupp. They've seen what's happened the first 2 weeks. All right, next matchup. We have Seattle at Minnesota. Minnesota's 0-2, Seattle 1-1. It's +2 for the home team in Minnesota. 73% of the money's on Seattle, -2 in this one. Over is 54.5. It's pretty even. And the money line is 75% on Seattle. Dan, what do you got, bud?
It's a funny line to me. 2 is a weird number. You don't see 2 very often.
No.
No. You really don't. And I don't really know what to make of either of these teams. I think Minnesota played a pretty good game last week and should have won. I think Seattle gave up that game. They dominated the entire thing against Tennessee, and then they gave up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, ended up even losing in overtime. This is another one where the public obviously is going to be on Seattle. They're going to see Seattle less than 3 points. Mm-hmm. It makes too much sense. Once in a while, it is gonna hit. That obvious bet is gonna hit. Vegas can't win 100% of the time, or people will stop betting. So, is this one of those where Seattle, it looks too easy, and it might be? It could be. I'm probably just gonna stay away and see what happens on this one personally.
Gotcha, Frank. On the fantasy side of it, what do you have for this one?
Again, it's kind of becoming redundant at this point when we say things like this, but. Russ Wilson, there's not much to talk about. You're playing him. Chris Carson, you're playing him. Lockett, at this point, I think he's earned the right to not really be a question mark. I think he's going to be a receiver that you have in there. DK Metcalf is a receiver you're going to have in there. On the Seattle side of the ball, I don't really see any questions. I think these are guys you just have to ride out and take the good and the bad. Today's going to be a crapshoot. You got a 2-point spread on it. And it's, again, two teams that really haven't shown their identities. It's, even ESPN's matchup predictor has them at 50.1 for Seattle and 49.9 for Minnesota. Like, this is just a straight down the line game. It could be very fun to watch. It could be one of the most boring games you've ever seen. It depends on how things play out.
That's kind of where I'm at, which makes it a hard game to cap because you really can't project how it's going to go.
No, and to me, this is just a game. Sit back and watch and kind of enjoy the fireworks. I believe this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah,
I really do. It's going to be a fantasy game.
You're tied for second highest over/under, so that's like you talked about. You want to target those fantasy guys.
And you want to target anybody in this game. I mean, you play your Jefferson, play Thielen. If you trot out KJ Osborne as a third wide receiver, as a flex, or in DFS, I think that's a great crapshoot play. I love Cousins in this game. I love everybody on the Seattle side. I think it's possible Metcalf has a better game than Lockett, which hasn't happened in the first 2 weeks, but I think that's very possible in this game.
It's time.
It's due. I hate that expression, but it is.
No,
due.
it is.
It's due.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's due. But you just kind of play everybody in this game.
Yeah.
If you have him, you play him. Cook is looking like he's not going to play. If you have Alexander Madison, I would throw him in this game. It's a decent matchup for him, even though he hasn't come through in the past when Cook has been out. He really hasn't shown he can take over that full duty. If you have somebody else like a Trey Sermon on Sunday night, or somebody like that to throw in your lineup as opposed to Madison, I would kind of lean that way. But if you have Madison as your backup to Cook, throw him in today. Wait until the 4 o'clock, injury report comes out and you see whether he's active or not. But play Madison. It's a decent matchup. I will say this.
Yeah, as of 2 minutes ago, Schefter was reporting that it's very unlikely that Delvin Cooks plays.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just actually got in on a bet that was advertised to me. It was 4 times your money if Hockenson has 50-plus receiving yards and a touchdown. That might be a trap bet, but I just jumped on that one.
I was going to say that I would.
I like that. Now, the only thing that scares me, because I bet on probably 9 or 10 different books to shop lines, to take advantage of promos, whatever, move money around.
Right.
When I've seen that, maybe 3 or 4 of different sports books are all kind of promoting the same guy to have a good game.
Yeah.
That kind of doesn't usually work out in my favor. So that kind of scares me, and I have a lot of Hockenson exposure already. But, I mean, he should score, and he should get those yards.
If you sprinkle a little bit in there, it's not a bad bet. Even if I lose that bet, I'm okay with it, because 50 yards and a touchdown for what they have on that team, to me, seems like an easy bet for me.
I agree.
It could be a trap bet. I don't know, but it is what it is. Next up, we have Green Bay at San Francisco in the Sunday night game, and San Francisco is giving up 3 points in this game. 67% of the money is on Green Bay getting 3 points in this game. Over-unders at 50.5, which is a pretty good over-under. And money line is 76% of the money on Green Bay in this game at plus 140. There's a lot of public betting going towards Green Bay in this game. I swing towards San Francisco in this game, playing at home in a little bit of a get-right game against a team that nobody expects them to really compete against as far as that goes, the public goes. Dan, what do you have?
You nailed it. Green Bay being that public dog, and a lot of times public dogs have fleas, and I think this is one of those cases.
I love it.
You guys never heard that one before?
Public dogs have fleas. I like that.
Sometimes,
I like that a lot.
Not all the time, but a lot of times public dogs have fleas. And
which one of you dirty bastards is letting your dog run the streets with fleas?
I don't have a dog, so I don't really know how it works.
No, we established last week you have a squirrel.
We have a squirrel. Yes.
You have a squirrel.
We have a squirrel at the house.
Squirrel and cats.
Yeah.
How is the squirrel doing?
The squirrel's good. He's getting real active.
Okay.
He had a couple people over yesterday, and they love taking pictures with him. He's a big hit. He's
you
probably
have an attraction at your house now.
honestly, yeah. I should start charging admission because people just come over to take pictures of the goddamn squirrel. It's pretty awesome.
I love you. I love the fact you domesticated a squirrel.
He's a buddy of mine. I'm thinking about introducing him to one of my cats, seeing if they'll play together because they sure seem to love each other through the window. So
all right.
We'll see what happens. Getting back to the Green Bay San Fran game.
He wants to get off of the squirrel topic as quick as possible.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I like San Francisco here. I don't think you really can base what you saw last week against Detroit. Obviously, that needed to happen for Green Bay. They historically historically Green Bay doesn't do very well against San Francisco. Whoever's running the ball there should be able to run. We've talked about it. Doesn't matter who steps up. They'll just get going. This is one of those games, I think it's on paper, public loves Green Bay. And I think it could be similar to week 1 where it's over pretty early. San Francisco gets up big. Green Bay turnover. Everybody loves seeing Aaron Rodgers getting some points. I don't want to throw something out there that's not there, but, hey, if they drop this game, maybe a couple others, you might see some of that drama brewing there, bringing back from what happened in the offseason this past summer.
Yeah, and you kind of hit why in that last game I said if you have Dalvin Cook, maybe look at Trey Sermon if he's out there or if you have him as a replacement for him because I do love Trey Sermon in this game. Eli Mitchell is doubtful for this game. JaMychal Hasty's already been ruled out. Trey Sermon is a guy where you haven't seen anything from him yet. He played one snap and got a concussion.
Right.
So he showed enough talent in college, in my opinion, to be able to be the guy in this backfield.
Didn't they sign somebody from the XFL?
I believe so, yeah.
So you would have to think that Sermon's going to be getting
Sermon's going to be the
touches.
guy in this game, in my opinion. I look at him to have a really big game because any running back behind this offensive line and in this running scheme has good games. And as you saw last week, Green Bay's defense is nothing to write home about. I think I play my Green Bay players in this game. You have to, and you just hope for the best. The running game for San Francisco, I like Deebo Samuel in this game. I really do. I think he could have a really big game with Garoppolo kind of hitting him on a couple of big bombs, or just keep feeding him the football. I like San Francisco in this game overall. That's just what I like in this game, Frank.
It's weird because I'm sitting here thinking about this game, and I'm not so much thinking about the fantasy aspect, and I'm not thinking about the typical things that we'd be discussing at this point. This game, to me, is the game that could potentially cause the NFL to initiate the flex rule earlier in the season. Because on paper, this is a great game. Mm-hmm. I just don't know that it's going to end up being a great game.
Agree.
And if the Rams and the Bucks end up being the game that we think that's going to end up being, I think this could be a situation where the NFL starts playing around with flexing games out all year round rather than just the last few weeks of the season.
That Tampa game should be the primetime game tonight.
Yeah.
It absolutely should be.
If not tonight, at least tomorrow.
Right. Agree.
But with, before the season starts, you take a look at things on paper. Yeah, I'm not putting Tampa versus the Rams on a primetime slot when I've got Green Bay versus San Fran.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, this is the matchup that makes sense.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers needs to, I'm not going to say break out because the guy historically has been one of the better quarterbacks of this generation. We've got to see something, though. I mean, he came back last week, but you can ultimately play the card that was against Detroit. We've got to see him do something against a real team.
Right.
If Green Bay is going to be anything this year, he has to finally make his move to decide, I'm in this, we're going, I'm taking this team to the Super Bowl, or, hey, Green Bay, you need to look at maybe throwing Jordan Love in there at some point this season.
Yeah.
It just, those are the things I'm thinking about with this game, not so much fantasy aspect, not so much betting aspect. Like, those are the things that really kind of come to mind for me with this game.
Is it, and kind of to shift gears back to fantasy, though, in terms of guys that are due, Devontae Adams, he's got to be due.
He is completely due, and this could be one of those games where, listen, as I said before, San Francisco could get out to an early lead here. Mm-hmm. I expect them to run the ball down their throat. I expect them to be able to have some open passes to Kittle. I think this might be a get-right game for Kittle.
Yeah, he needs it too.
He does. I think Deebo Samuel has a good game here. And this is one of those games where San Francisco could find themselves up a little bit early, and Green Bay could find themselves throwing the ball a lot more than they intended to. With that being said, Aaron Jones could still get some play because you saw last week he had 3 receiving touchdowns. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. But this very well could be that get-right game for Devontae Adams. He could have 150 and a tutty. Maybe
Especially
even
if they're playing from behind.
Exactly.
Even more likely.
Exactly. So, and of course you play him every week, but this might be the week where you finally get that that big game for him.
What you paid for him.
Yeah. Last but not least is Philadelphia 1-1 against Dallas 1-1 in Dallas. Excuse me. Minus 3.5. Dallas is giving up minus 3.5. And it looks like it's pretty even on the money there on the spread. Over/under's 51.5. It looks like it's even there as well. And then money line, it's 84% of the money is on Dallas in the money line. I honestly like Philly in this game. I might be crazy. I might be an insane person here, but I like Philly to win in Dallas, and I like them on the money line. I would take that plus 150 all day, every day. Even if I lose, I'm happy with making that bet because I truly believe Philadelphia on paper is an equal to Dallas. I think the only reason Dallas is giving up points is because they're at home. And I like Philly. Go ahead, Dan.
We're in agreement on a lot of things this week, Joe, which could be kind of scary. Fade Dallas in primetime. First of all, this is an NFC least divisional matchup. I don't think either of these teams is really that good. I think I'm higher on Philly. Cowboys, that's a little bit of a big win for them, I think, against the Chargers, and I don't know if they really won that as much as Chargers just did Chargers things. I think they had 12 penalties that game, which was huge. I thought the Eagles played pretty well against the 49ers. I think, you alluded to coaching being their biggest drawback, and I think that's kind of what screwed them last week. I thought that they were competitive throughout the entire game. I'm seeing some sharp money coming in on the Eagles, too. I definitely think, getting that 3.5 is the safer play, but I'm going to be sprinkling that money line as well. I think by tomorrow, I think you're going to see it as a solid 3. So if you do like the Eagles like we do, and you do want to sprinkle that money line, I would probably do it today in advance and kind of shop around and get that best line before it comes down to a solid 3.
Yeah, I couldn't be in any more agreement on you with that game. And the funny thing is, you only sent me 3 picks. That's 3 picks that are on the site. So the fact that you and I agree on a lot of things today is really kind of odd because we're not necessarily always that lockstep on things. But I think you and I see football in very similar ways when it comes to analyzing games and analyzing betting. So that just kind of shows you where we're at on that one.
Let's have a fucking good Sunday, man.
Let's have a great Sunday. Let's fucking have a great Sunday, and we're going to finish the show off right, and then we're going to let you guys get into watching football for 7 hours.
Scott Hansen, let's go.
All right, Frank, what do you got in this game fantasy-wise? And then I'll give you my fantasy aspect after that.
Fantasy-wise, Hurts has established himself as a surefire start.
Yep.
Prescott, obviously the same. He's earned that right. When it comes to rushing game, nobody, which blows my mind that I'm saying that about an Ezekiel Elliott team. But if there's one man who's proven to be totally irrelevant this season, it's been him. He's not even the leading rusher on his team after 2 games.
Is it wrong to say Pollard looks better? He looks more spry. He looks quicker.
I'm not convinced that they're passing the torch and just not telling anybody. Like, I could see a situation where Pollard ends up being the one by the end of the year if this continues at the rate it's going.
I mean, he's definitely not worth that contract anymore. He's not. You've proven that running backs are a dime a dozen. There's no reason to to pay him.
You've proven the guy on your team behind him can do better.
Do this at least
the same or better.
At least, right? Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I would love to sit here and try to pitch a reason.
And wax poetically about it.
Yeah. Trust me, my fantasy team would love that too.
Yeah, right.
Because I was one of the suckers who bit on Ezekiel Elliott in the offseason.
Yep.
But, it is what it is. It happens with a few guys every year, and it just seems like this is going to be Zeke's year.
Yeah.
You're a loser.
I'll allow
First drop of the show.
I'll allow it because we're playing each other. And I know you enjoy your shit talking. This matchup, to me, is decided in one specific area, and it's going to be the Cowboys' defense and the Eagles' offensive line. If they can hold up, if they can, the Cowboys were able to get to the quarterback statistically more last week than they have in the past. Big reason moving Micah Parsons to DN instead of playing him at linebacker, just based by numbers. He was the best pass rusher on the season. Mm-hmm. Granted, 2 games, it is what it is, but that's where the numbers fell.
Right.
With that happening, I know a dynamic pass rusher can kind of jumpstart a defense. I'm wondering if maybe that move to D-end, even if it is only temporary, maybe pushes that defense, allows the linebackers to get their situation figured out, allows him to finally get settled into playing daily. But this could also just be me hoping that these things happen. So,
well, I agree with you on the Zeke thing. I think you have to play him if you have him, but I wouldn't expect big things out of him in this game, and you haven't gotten big things out of him yet, and that kind of sucks. You drafted him high, or you paid big money for him in
auctions. Yeah.
In auction,
paid more for Josh Jacobs.
Wow. Yeah, but you're a big Josh Jacobs fan. I don't know why. I actually, at the time, I said I didn't understand why he went so high. But anyway, Prescott, I even told you when you drafted him, I said I don't like him this year. I just don't. But let's get off of that. But anyway, Prescott. So Prescott hasn't been mobile so far in 2021. But
get off of breaking down Frank's horrible job drafting a fantasy team.
But his
shift gears.
His elite receivers are what's going to help carry him, and the fact that they throw the ball so much. So Prescott, I have him ranked as my number 6 this week. I have Hurts right behind him at number 7, and actually I could interchange those. Mm-hmm. I think Hurts has a fantastic game this week. I'm playing him in all my leagues I have him in. I'm playing him in DFS as much as I can. He's got 144 rushing yards through 2 games. And I really expect that to sustain itself and actually rise a little bit.
He's their leading rusher by like a lot.
Well, and this is an easy matchup against Dallas as far as not only being able to run the ball as a quarterback, but actually being able to throw the ball against them as well. So he can hurt you in 2 ways in this game. I don't really like any of the running backs in this game particularly. You have to play Zeke, but it is what it is. I do love Devontae Smith in as like a wide receiver 3 or sprinkled in DFS.
Yeah.
I think he's a big play. If you play Hurts in DFS, pair him up with Devontae Smith in some of your DFS. I like that play a lot. I do like CeeDee Lamb a little bit more than Amari Cooper in this game because Amari Cooper's dealing with a rib injury. But by all accounts, he's supposed to play.
Yeah.
You never know with rib injuries. He could easily take a hit that knocks him out of this game with a rib injury. I love CeeDee Lamb in this game. I think he sees again a lion's share of the targets in this game. I think he's going to be open in that secondary. So play those guys with ease. I would even play Amari Cooper. We're not going to, obviously, but in our league we have. But as far as playing him, if he's starting and you don't have any better options or you haven't played a better option yet, you kind of have to trot him out there.
Chance, yeah.
Just know that there's that chance that he gets hit with that rib injury and gets knocked out of the game again. All right. Anything else, boys?
No.
We went over a little bit today, but it's okay. We actually started a little bit late as well, so it kind of evens itself out a little bit. We had some technical difficulties, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
At this point, we're going to let you get...
I'd apologize to our boss, but we don't have one.
No.
What do you mean? He's sitting right here.
I'm nobody's boss here.
I know.
He is only the boss when it comes to when Joe gets mad, just do what he says.
Yeah. You see that face.
Wow.
Stay away.
Wow, how did the show end on bashing Joe? Real pieces of shit.
Because we couldn't do it at the beginning because of how pissed off you were.
Yeah, I had to ease into it.
I was so fucking mad at our equipment. Anyway, so with that being said, that's going to end our show today. And we're going to let you get into watching all the football you want to watch today. Go watch your games. Go win some money. Hopefully what we said will help you out throughout the day. Don't forget to tune in on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. for our original and the every week Tuesday show, 7 p.m. Sports on Tap Detroit.
Sports on Tap OG.
Yeah, Sports on Tap OG. I wasn't really sure how to say that. It's the
Neither
original.
was I. So I
original,
just figured the most ridiculous
Yeah.
way I could say it would be the best.
Yeah, the original Sports on Tap Detroit show, and then again every Sunday at 10:30, you will see either the three of us or any mix of the four of us that do these shows in here, giving you insight into fantasy and betting. So again, 10:30 on Sundays and 7:00 p.m. on Tuesdays. With that being said, we're going to get out of here for the day. Go enjoy football. Have fun. Peace out.
Forward down the field.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.